Hello, my name's Julia and I'm a mum of 3 and my youngest child, Fraser, has special needs. He has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and that's a degenerative condition which causes weakness in the muscles, and he has difficulty walking now and he will lose mobility in the near future. Fraser also has a diagnosis of autism, and autism causes him difficulties with social interactions and with communication.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
So, hello, my name's Fraser.
Hello, my name is Fraser.
Where are we going, Fraser?
I don't know.
We just started in the last sort of 12 months or so to get some support for Fraser. So we already had a direct payment to pay for a personal assistant to take him out. And he had just started to go to Grove House for respite. But the difficulty was that it wasn't particularly flexible. We didn't think that the respite at Grove House was entirely suitable for Fraser, and there didn't seem to be any real alternative. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Whee! There we go.
Take my shoes.
We found out about personal-centred planning through Fraser's social worker initially, and then we did receive some leaflets explaining what it was about from the council. Good, isn't it? The planning sessions were really enjoyable. Fraser was hugely involved in it, and he drew pictures of what he liked to do and where he would like to go, and talked about his interests. And it was quite interesting for us because I think he mentioned some things that we weren't aware of. You okay?
Lift me down. Okay, 1, 2.
He particularly talked about that he was interested in sporting events, in car racing and in skiing and the Olympics, and he'd never mentioned anything like that before, so it's something that we can look into for him.
This much. All of the potatoes being picked.
Yeah. Have you eaten them
And
yet?
there's a lot of weeds.
Have you eaten any of the potatoes, Fraz?
Yes.
As a result of the planning sessions, we had some discussions about, how we could allow Fraser to have respite that would be of interest to him, and we budgeted for some trips away. We looked at a trip to York, for instance, because he's very interested in trains and he liked the idea of the Railway Museum, and also of the Jorvik Centre because he's interested in history, and also he's quite an adrenaline junkie really, and he loves the Calvert Trust. He's been before and he loved the idea of going there and having a go again at canoeing and archery. So we budgeted for a weekend to go there, and then we were given sufficient funds through the individual budget to allow us to organise those weekends. Before we had the individual budget for Fraser, we had some direct payments, and we were able to employ Fraser's cousin to be his PA and to take him out on outings. But the individual budget allowed us to have more hours, so we can employ his cousin to take him on outings, and we also from time to time employ his sisters as PAs to take him out. And that's really useful because these are young people who know Fraser really well, who can cope with any behavioural issues he has, but it's still much better for him to be able to go out with people who are around his own age rather than always be with mum and dad. Let's have a look and see what we need.
How much sugar do we need?
We need 175 grams. Okay?
That much?
Yeah. And a bit more. You've got to get to that next mark.
Like that?
If we needed to change Fraser's support, I think, I'd have some discussions with Joanne, his social worker, and just talk about, what he needed. I mean, in actual fact, I have organised some discussions with Joanne because it continues to have some respite at Grove House, and that we're not sure how that's working out for him, and we're going to have some discussions about that and about possibly changing that. Oh, quite the chef. Right, I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yes.
Excellent. You can top it. I think you're given a lot of support in managing the financial side of it, and so it hasn't really been a problem. The council recommend an agency that helps you with the payroll issues, tax and national insurance, and basically you just give them the information about the PAs that you employ, and they tell you how much to pay them and when, so it's not difficult. It's just a case of keeping records, really.
Is that one?
That's excellent. I think we do feel more in control of how we plan things for Fraser, because we know now that there is flexibility, whereas before, before the personal budget, we knew that there were limited types of respite, for instance, and that Fraser would have to slot into what was available, whereas now we know that we can find something that suits Fraser. There you go. Just put them in there. That's excellent. Slide them in. Good boy. I'd definitely recommend it. I think it's really useful to go through the process. From our perspective, it gave us some new ideas about what Fraser would like to do, and I think if all you gain is that, then that's valuable. But I think actually going through the process and getting the budget, I think it's life enhancing for the young person, because obviously it gives them opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have. You're going to put your open gloves on? And then I tell you what.
What will we do?
Right. Now, what you're going to have to do is get a hold of both sides of the tray really carefully. You manage? Good boy. That's it. Excellent.